So the first Sonic game that I've ever covered on the Leftover Culture review was Sonic 3, a game that came out when the Sega Mega Drive was wearing its fanciest pants, before the 32X and the Sega CD could come by and attach themselves as some sort of ugly fashion accessories. In my review, I mentioned that Sonic 3 was developed alongside this lock-on cartridge, Sonic & Knuckles. So I didn't look into this expanded cartridge when I was doing the review, just because I assumed it was a bit more of a gimmick. Locking it on with Sonic 3, it was designed to expand on the game, with some extra stages, and offering Knuckles as a playable character. So I made the comment at the time that I'd check out Sonic & Knuckles some other time, instead of trying to cover it in the Sonic 3 review. Well, my mum watched that video, and when she saw me make that comment, she pretty much told me that I promised that I'd make a Sonic & Knuckles video. I guess I kind of expected Sonic 3 to have all the good stuff, being part of the main series, and Sonic & Knuckles would be a bit more of a gimmick cartridge, full of filler content. I'm not gonna lie, the first stage looks like a poor man's version of the first stage in Sonic 3. I was a bit bummed. It looks nice, but it's been done better, and the second stage had me going cold on the game. I literally switched it off. Obviously, I eventually switched it back on, but I was still not impressed. Generally speaking, those first two stages should be the most memorable. They're the first two stages you play every time you boot up a game. Well, Sonic & Knuckles did not leave a good impression on me. In the wise words of my own mother, "Bruiser, you've got to do it." She was talking about the dishes at the time, but in a game like Sonic & Knuckles, once you hit that third stage, it gets a fistload better. I guess some of that magic from the second Sonic game started showing through the cracks. After my review of Sonic 3, it was obvious that a lot of people just didn't feel that Sonic magic there. Sure, I could argue that technically Sonic 3 is really impressive, but without that fast, flowing, exciting gameplay, Sonic 3 just didn't reach the same dizzying heights as Sonic 2. Considering Sonic & Knuckles was developed alongside Sonic 3, it's actually easy to appreciate how it might have all worked together, but separately, Sonic & Knuckles totally comes off stronger for me. They've swapped out a playable Tails for Knuckles, and in my opinion, Knuckles is a much cooler character. But easily, the biggest letdown in Sonic 3 was the bosses. So if you enjoy fighting a fat guy in a red suit, and some pretty similar looking robots, you're going to find this game much easier to get excited about. Sonic & Knuckles replenished a lot of my faith, with some really awesome encounters, and more than ever, epic robots that totally had me in awe as they rampaged across the screen. It's like Robotnik got his loan approved for the Death Mechs, and for the Metal Sonic that were missing from Sonic 3. So the story in Sonic & Knuckles is a continuation from Sonic 3. You can play them totally separately, but if you lock these cartridges together, you play through Sonic 3 as usual, but at the end, instead of the Death Egg breaking apart, it merely falls back to the island, and that's where the story of Sonic & Knuckles picks up. Sonic heads back to the island to reclaim the Master Emerald. It's easy to say with both cartridges locked on. This is one super impressive Sonic game, with 3 playable characters, save states, and a slightly altered storyline to tie both of the games together. When it comes to the Sonic storylines, I'm a total slob. I speed through the levels, I miss the emeralds, and I don't strive for perfection. But as it turns out, if you manage to do really well and get the emeralds, there's a secret ending stage just for Sonic. I guess what I'm trying to say is if you've got Sonic & Knuckles and Sonic 3, you get the best of both worlds. If you're a Sonic fan and you don't have a Mega Drive, you can find Sonic in plenty of other places too. Most compilations that have Sonic 3 will have Sonic & Knuckles included as well, which might be the easiest way to get your hands on both games at once. So if your mum made you hold on to the Mega Drive, instead of letting you sell it and spending some extra pocket money and buying a Sega Saturn, there's one really nifty feature with this lock-on cartridge. If you've got a copy of Sonic 2, which if you've still got a Mega Drive, you definitely totally do, you can use it to unlock Knuckles as a playable character in that game. As far as I can tell, the Mega Drive doesn't have anything else like this lock-on cartridge, and if you're a fan of nifty gadgets, this thing proves itself more than just another gimmick. So I might have talked up Sonic 3 a bit in my last review, and going into Sonic & Knuckles, I just assume more of the same. I can confidently say Sonic 3 is a great game that really shows off what the Mega Drive is capable of doing. But if you're tossing up between playing one of these two games, the level design, the bosses, and the amazing gameplay totally make Sonic and Knuckles the better game, in my personal opinion.